A new Monmouth University poll finds let's keep it real, we already knew about American sentiment toward Congress. Now, specifically, this Monmouth University poll looked into how Americans feel about congressional leadership, and the results are damning, to say the least. So let's start with, the overall opinion of Congress. The opinion of the job the United States Congress is doing stands at its worst mark in more than a year. Only 17% of Americans approve. A whopping 77% of Americans correctly disapprove of the job Congress is doing. And that makes a lot of sense to me when you consider what Congress spends most of their time engaging in. If they're not fundraising for their campaigns or trading individual stocks based on insider information that the general public is not privy to, what they're spending their time doing is engaging in theater. Political theater in the form of congressional hearings. They pass non-binding resolutions, just a virtue signal to their constituents, without actually passing legislation to improve the lives of their constituents. And Americans aren't stupid. I really do believe in the intelligence of our fellow Americans, and they see what's going on, they see it clearly, which is why 77% of them look at Congress and say, no, I reject, I disapprove.
Yeah, so these numbers have been headed down for a long, long time. And it's not an accident, it's because of money in politics. And so I wrote about this in my book, Justice is Coming. You can get it at tyt.com/justice. And I talk about how we lost the Democratic Party to corporate donors, and the Republican Party was set up for business interests in the first place. So corruption was legalized, bribery was, and so they all started serving corporations, and then we stopped getting everything. The federal minimum wage is still at $7.25. It's so comically low, it's ridiculous. It's $15,000 a year if you work every single day, Monday through Friday, right? So now, but the people in power still haven't gotten used to this, and they don't understand, they don't really believe it. Because in their circle, everybody loves the people in power.
That's
right?
true, yep.
And not only do they like the people in power, Washington is a giant ass-kissing operation where the more powerful you are, the more people kiss your ass. So it leaves a sense in the air of like, oh, everybody must love the powerful. Oh my God, if it's a senator, everybody's like, oh my God, it's a senator walking by. And they think like a senator is like the greatest thing in the world, right? But the rest of the country that's outside of that bubble looks at it and goes, I hate those guys. I can't stand those guys. And the more establishment they are, the more they hate them. And there's one party has been smart enough, let's be honest, to wake up to this phenomenon, and that's the Republicans. And that is why they're at least pretending to be populists. Whereas the Democratic Party is like, what? Everybody loves Congress, don't they? Everybody loves the establishment, right? Let's give them Hillary Clinton. Let's give them Joe Biden. Guys, people who've been in politics for 50, 60, 240 years. They're gonna love it. No, they're not. Look at the numbers.
No, I disagree a little bit. I think the difference between Democratic lawmakers and Republican lawmakers is that while I think both sides are totally dishonest, with Republicans, they at least try to put on a show as if they're understanding and loving toward their constituents, that they want to serve their constituents. Whereas the feel that I get from the Democratic Party is that they despise their constituents. They can't stand them, they loathe them, and they really struggle to hold back how much they loathe them. I think a good example, honestly, is some of the recent public statements that John Fetterman's been making in regard to some factions of the Democratic voters, who, by the way, worked really hard to get him elected.
He's the one insulting them the most now.
Yes.
Because the minute you get into Washington, it's super comfortable. Okay, and all of a sudden, Fetterman, Mr. Populist hero, is the #1 protector of the establishment now.
I mean,
so congrats, well played, actor Fetterman. Okay, but the rest of us see you. But Anna, I don't disagree with you, and that's part of the point that I'm making. The Republicans are no better. In fact, they're worse in the sense that they're the ones who gave the giant tax cuts for the rich over and over again, cut corporate taxes to the bone, and are promising to do it again and maybe cut your Social Security and Medicare. So I understand that they're fake populists, but at least they're pretending, especially on social issues, that they care about their base and they get the concept that people hate Washington. So they'll be like, oh, drain the swamp, oh, we hate Washington. and then they'll actually help the people in
100%.
power, but at least they're savvy enough to pretend. Whereas the Democrats are like, oh, we don't need our stinking voters. No, they love the establishment. People love it, and you should love it. Are you saying something against a politician?
Yeah.
Oh, to ban them, cancel them. How dare they? Censure. Okay.
And what they lean into come election time, re-election season, is honestly hitting you over the head with, if you don't get us reelected, then the other guy's gonna win. The other guy's dangerous. The other guy's terrible.
It's the only move they have.
That's what they've resorted to, and it's pathetic. Now, with that said, let's talk about congressional leadership and how, well, voters in both parties, how they feel about congressional leadership. Let's begin with Republicans in the Senate. So in the Senate, you have the Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and boy, are things looking terrible for him. So the US Senate's Republican Minority Leader Mitch McConnell earns the lowest overall rating. 6% approve and 60% disapprove, and that's among American adults in general. But the number's even worse when you specifically focus on Republicans. Only 10% of Republicans approve of Mitch McConnell, 41% disapprove.
Yeah, no, here I'm gonna do something ironic. I'm gonna give Republican voters tremendous credit. So why? Because they caught on even before Democratic voters that their corporate wing is full of crap. And that the most of the party is the corporate wing. And the leader of the party, Mitch McConnell, in the Senate, in Congress overall, is the most full of crap. And so now, guys, I can prove my point perfectly. Mitch McConnell has taken $1 billion in corporate PAC money, right, and donations overall from lobbyists, etc. Nancy Pelosi has taken the same amount. If you tell Republican voters now, hey, I think that $1 billion might be legalized bribes to affect Mitch McConnell to do the things that his donors want rather than what his voters want, a huge percentage of Republican voters will now go, of course, yeah, that's totally true, even though he's the leader of their party in the Senate. If you tell Democratic voters the same thing about Nancy Pelosi, they'll rip your head off. And they'll be deeply offended. They'll be like, what do you mean? Mitch McConnell's the bad guy. And when he takes the same exact money as Pelosi, he's evil. But when Pelosi takes it, she takes it with the best of intentions. And all of her votes that agree with Mitch McConnell and that agree with her donors are all a coincidence. And she's a master legislator that we revere, a historic figure.
Yeah.
No, ridiculous.
And look, the thing with Mitch McConnell is he's still very much a neocon and presents himself as a neocon, but the Republican voters have moved on from that. And so really what you're seeing is this tension among Republicans with the old guard, which is much more representative of the neocons, the hawkish individuals who have never met a war they didn't love, and the, I guess, new guard of the more MAGA era Republicans. They have their faults. I'm not pretending like they're great.
They have a lot of faults, but this is not among them.
This is not among them, right? Exactly. So now let's move on to the Democratic side. Senate Majority Leader, I should say, Chuck Schumer. His overall approval rating is only 21%, 41% disapprove. But then when you boil it down to Democrats specifically, shockingly, 48% of Democrats approve.
It's not, that's what I'm saying, it's not shocking. Because the other thing you have to give credit, and I'm never giving credit to right-wing media on anything, ever, okay? Because they're just massive liars. But here, first time for everything, they've been talking accurately about what much of a sellout Mitch McConnell and other corporate Republicans are. Sometimes inaccurately, sometimes they'll blame him for being woke or some insane thing like that. But on overall, they're beginning to talk about the donors. The Koch brothers have turned on Trump, so the Trump wing has turned on the Koch brothers and saying, hey, look at these dirty donors who are basically bribing everyone. That is true, right? But on the Democratic side, if you ever say about Chuck Schumer that he might be corrupt too as he takes all this corporate money, MSNBC will annihilate you. CNN will be offended. New York Times will be offended. They'll all say that, no, you're terrible, and they'll try to run you out of the party. But now they've run so many people out of the party, there's not enough people left to win elections.
So let's look at House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Again, when you look at his overall approval rating, according to this Monmouth University poll, 21% approve and 22% disapprove. But among Democrats, 45% approve and 6% disapprove.
Because no one in any form of media other than progressive media has ever said an unkind word about Hakeem Jeffries. No one has ever mentioned all the corporate donations that not only that he takes, but that he funnels to other Democrats. No one has ever mentioned all the bills that he has blocked behind the scenes that were theoretical Democratic priorities that he never lifted a finger to try to help pass. All this is totally covered up by mainstream media and anything that leans Democratic. And so unfortunately, the Democratic voters are kind of in the same bubble that Republican voters are about the election. They think that the Republican voters think the 2020 election, they have completely wrong information and they think Trump actually won when he didn't. There's no evidence to that effect. And Democratic voters think Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer are angels and that they don't take dark money or corporate PAC money or help their donors. That's not remotely true. They do take all that money and they do help their donors. And we've shown you dozens of examples in other episodes about that. So Democratic voters, I love you, but you gotta get better. Wake up to what's actually happening, not just in the opposing party, but in your own party too.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.